Welcome to Farm Talk, where we look at issues that affect agriculture and ranching here in the natural state. Brought to you by Heritage Agriculture. Here is your host, Mike Linton.
Welcome to Arkansas Farm Talk. I'm your host, Mike Linton. My guest today is Mr. Mike Freeze, Vice President of Arkansas Farm Bureau, and Mr. John Bailey, Director of Commodity and Regulatory Affairs Department for Arkansas Farm Bureau. Welcome to Arkansas Farm Talk.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Mike, I know you're in the fish farming business. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how aquaculture adds diversity to Arkansas agriculture.
Okay, well, I'm native-born Arkansas and lived here my whole life, except when I was going to school. But I got a master's degree in fisheries and wildlife, came back home, went to work for the Game and Fish, worked for them 7 years, and at that time decided that they weren't paying me enough, and I wanted to try something different. So in 1983, got into fish farming, and got to Keogh Fish Farm in 1986, and I've been there since. So we're what most people will call a fairly large farm. Got 1,000 acres of ponds, raise hybrid striped bass and sterile triploid grass carp. But, you know, Mike, a lot of people don't realize how big aquaculture is in the state of Arkansas.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge.
I love to talk to people about aquaculture because, you know, we've got the largest goldfish farm in Arkansas, the largest bait fish farm, the largest sport fish farm, the largest largemouth bass farm. We're the largest hybrid striped bass farm in the United States. So there's a lot of diversity in Arkansas. And you know, if you go fishing in New York and you go to buy minnows, they probably came from Arkansas.
Sure.
If you go to Chicago and buy goldfish, putting your goldfish
coming from Arkansas.
Came from Arkansas.
Coming from Lone Oak.
Yeah, and it's just a huge industry. And I tell people, especially if they fly into Little Rock, I said, look out your window. You know, you see all that water. Maybe there's a few rice fields. Most of that's fish ponds.
Yeah.
It's big business in Arkansas.
It's big time. John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm John Bailey. I'm actually the Director of Commodity and Regulatory Affairs with Arkansas Farm Bureau. I've actually been with Farm Bureau for about 4 years. I started off my career as an engineer, and a few things I like to tell people whenever, you know, I was going to the University of Arkansas, getting my degree, and as a young 25-year-old, if you would have told me, you know, 25 years later I was going to be working at Farm Bureau, I would have said, you know, what are you talking about? But I found myself going down the environmental track with my engineering degree. I have over, you know, close to 20 years of experience as an environmental engineer. And so when I had an opportunity to join Farm Bureau to do a lot of their environmental work, I jumped at the opportunity.
John, your focus at Farm Bureau, you just mentioned it, is environmental programs. And how does agriculture how does it operate together in partnership with other conservation efforts, and how has modern agriculture demonstrated its environmental stewardship?
I think you'd be surprised on how much environmental plays into what farmers do on an everyday basis. There are several things that are out there right now that help towards conservation of our resources. You know, a perfect example would be seed genetics. You know, you're developing a seed that is now drought tolerant or pest tolerant. I think those are useful conservation practices. But to me, really the big one is precision agriculture. You know, and if you think about it, the idea of being able to take your resource, for a farmer's resource, such as water or nutrients, and putting what you need in the right location, in the right amount, is really key. If you start thinking about it, for example, we have an issue in the Mississippi, along the Mississippi and in the Gulf of Mexico with a dead zone. If you can put the nutrients down on the location and not more than it's necessary, that saves the farmer money, and that also is protective of the environment as well.
Yeah, Mike, I know you'll agree with this, but you know, the greatest stewards in the land are the Arkansas farmers, ranchers, and fish farmers.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody loves the land any more than the farmers, ranchers, and fish farmers.
Yeah, I mean, you know, all of us love to get out into the outdoors and to see the sun come up, et cetera. But you know, that farmer's out there every day.
Every day.
And he gets to see the environment, the weather. You know, this bad weather that we just had, all the snow and ice. They were out there every day.
Every day.
You know, feeding cows and taking care of their animals, et cetera. Yep. farmers, to me, they're the ultimate environmentalists. They make their living off that land. They're not going to do anything intentionally that's going to damage that land, because that's where their their wealth comes from, and they're so they're farmers in general are just really great environmentalists.
But it's the love of the land that drives them to do what they do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, like I said, if you're a fish farmer, if you're a row crop farmer, if you're a rancher, it doesn't matter. It's the love of the land that drives the business.
And one thing I want to bring up, and a lot of people may not be familiar with this, is that Farm Bureau and the University of Arkansas have been working together to try to figure out what are some of the issues as far as our resources and conservation practices. And so U of A kind of developed what's called the Discovery Farms, where they go out and they actually get real-time data, useful information, real-time data that shows what the impacts farmers have. And what you learn from that are you now are developing conservation practices that farmers can implement to make sure that they're keeping their resources where they're at and where they're needed. And this is not something that they were forced to do. Farm Bureau, as a matter of fact, is a big sponsor of it, and we asked to do it. So to your point of how much farmers love want to protect the environment,
yes,
that's a really good point right there with the Discovery Farms.
Like I said, we've talked about this before off camera, but everyone, when you say Arkansas Farm Bureau, they automatically think, well, that's an insurance company. Yeah. And it is, yes, it is an insurance company, and it's a great insurance company, but no one fights harder for the farmers, ranchers, fish farmers in the state of Arkansas than Arkansas Farm Bureau. And I know you guys will agree with that.
And Mike, our insurance agents probably hate to hear me say this, but you can be a Farm Bureau member, just for the annual membership fee. I think it's $45. You don't have to buy insurance from Farm Bureau. I was a member of Farm Bureau for many years, president of Long County, and we weren't buying our insurance from Farm Bureau. Now, we buy our insurance from Farm Bureau now. They have a great product, but the insurance is something that is a service we provide our members. It's not the driving factor of why you should join Farm Bureau.
Yeah, we were both on a call last night.
Yeah.
And then Eric Hale was sitting in my office this morning, and we were discussing some things. Yeah. So yeah, they're a great insurance company, but no one fights harder for the Arkansas farmers and ranchers than Arkansas Farm Bureau does.
I think John and I would both agree with that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I know you were on the Game and Fish Board. I want to get into that, but just hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Now's the time to get a great deal on the powerfully versatile Kubota M7, featuring up to 168 horsepower, superior loader lift capacity, easy-to-use controls, all-day comfort, and your choice of a 30x15 semi-power shift or Kubota variable transmission. The Kubota M7 tractor. Built right, built ready. Right now, get the Kubota M7 tractor for 0 down and 0% APR for 60 months, plus a $7,000 loyalty cash reward.
In good times and hard times, Arkansas Farm Bureau is there. We're always working, so our state's farmers and ranchers can continue to put food on store shelves and on your family's dinner table. We support training for medical care in rural communities and the industries that provide materials needed for critical supplies. Arkansas Farm Bureau, working every day to keep Arkansas strong.
This is a seed bag. This bag is made of craft paper with a cellophane liner and provides nothing for seed growth. This is a seed bed. It was prepared with Case IH soil management tools. It optimizes everything from nutrient access to water infiltration to create the perfect environment for early, uniform emergence. Get to know why your seed bed drives productivity at caseih.com/soil management.
Since 1921, we've been supporting rice farmers across America. These are the farmers who own our co-op, who prosper together, striving to do more for their communities, going deeper, working smarter, growing stronger. That's how we make good even better. That good comes from the time and toil they're passing down of a way of life that supports not only their families, but families all over the world, so the world can be served with great food. Riceland. United, we grow.
On this field, it's baling, but somewhere, there's one mowing, one raking, One loading, stacking, lifting, and pulling. Our full lineup of versatile utility tractors is built to get any job done right. Right now, get a Kubota utility tractor for 0 down and 0% APR and save up to $1,000.
Welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk. I'm with Mr. Mike Freeze and Mr. John Bailey, Arkansas Farm Bureau representatives. Mike, we started on this a while ago. You've been past chairman of the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission and now serve as vice president of Arkansas Farm Bureau. Could you tell us a little bit about the common ground shared between both these organizations?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you're dealing with wildlife management or trying to do things to the land to enhance your wildlife management habitat or something, you know, the Game and Fish owns a lot of property. The Arkansas Game and Fish owns more property than any other state game and fish agency. But still, the amount of land that they own in the state is minuscule compared to private land.
Yes.
And the Game and Fish realizes that. I mean, the Game and Fish Commission has the state divided up into districts, and they have what are called private lands biologists. So they have state game and fish biologists that are working with private landowners because, you know, that deer doesn't know where the property line is.
No.
And you know, it's going to move from my property to your property or from private to public property.
And the ducks and the geese.
And unfortunately the feral hogs, which is a big issue.
Yeah, it is.
Which, you know, feral hogs, game and fish, I mean, that's a horrible impact on wildlife management habitat and as well as agricultural land.
It is.
But the game fish and you know, the private landowner, they've really got a lot in common and they work together. So to me, it's Farm Bureau and the Game and Fish, they partner on a whole lot of issues.
Well, you know, like I said, we were mentioning a while ago, you know, the greatest stewards of the land are the Arkansas farmers, ranchers, and the fish farmers. And hunting, fishing here in the natural state, farming, ranching, it just all goes hand in hand. That's our way of life.
Mike, the Game and Fish is trying to bring quail back. Well, they're doing that on private land.
Yeah.
You know, up in they've got certain quail areas that they're trying to restore the quail back on. But you know, it's going to take the private landowner to implement you know, different programs, et cetera, if that's ever going to be a success. So they're working together.
Yeah. John, what other state agencies does Farm Bureau work closely with? I know they work with all of them, but mention just a few here.
Well, the big ones, obviously, is the Arkansas Department of Ag.
Yes.
You know, and so in the several divisions within the Department of Ag, you know, we're talking about the State Plant Board, Arkansas Natural Resources Commission, and also Livestock and Poultry. Those, we absolutely keep an eye on things that are going on. We work with everybody within those divisions, and they seek input back from us. You know, something that maybe a few folks don't know that we actually work closely with is the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. So there's a lot of regulations that the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality puts in place that could impact farmers. And so they'll reach out to us, and we'll participate in any sort of regulatory review process. It's not to say that that their intent is to go out and put regulations in place that are to hamper the farmer. Sometimes they just don't know, and that's where we come in. We're able to provide them with information. Unfortunately, we live in a society today whenever somebody says, "Hey, we want to protect the environment," and you've already said it, and I agree 100%. Listen, farmers want to protect the environment as well. And what we have to keep an eye on is if we have regulations in place that are currently protecting an environment, but you've got somebody coming along and says, hey, let's make this twice as hard. Well, the requirements are already protective. Yes. Why are we trying to make this twice as hard? What we want to focus in is on the science-based information, and that's how we work with ADQ. So when we get information, we get studies from the University of Arkansas, or really from any other university, we provide that both to ADQ and the Department of Ag, and hopefully they'll be able to make a decision based on science, not emotion, whenever we're putting regulations in place.
Yeah, Mike, I'm good friends with Secretary Wes Ward. We're both from Northeast Arkansas. He's a regular on the show. But you know, that's the perfect example of what we've been talking about so far is, you know, like I said, a lot of people think that Arkansas Farm Bureau is just an insurance company, but they mean so much more to the state of Arkansas, not just the farmers, ranchers, and fish farmers, but all Arkansans, because they're out there, just like you said, John, they're out there, they're not trying to, you know, wave their own flag and say, hey, we're doing this for you, we're doing that for you. They're just taking the bull by the horns, and they're trying to take care of business, and they're trying to help all Arkansans every day.
Yeah. And Mike, we stay real busy during the legislative session, you know, to watch for laws that you know, are you know, as John was talking about, you know, make sure that when a law is written or passed, that how it impacts farmers and ranchers is considered.
Yes. Because the other thing, however it affects farmers and ranchers and fish farmers, it's going to funnel down. You know, we're at the bottom of the food chain, so I mean everything's going up. So however it affects the farmers, ranchers, and fish farmers, it's going to affect the the consumer.
Yeah.
John, isn't that correct?
That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
Guys, weather is always an issue for farmers and ranchers. We were talking about, you know, we just broke a 100-year record on snow and temperatures. You know, can we quantify the economic impact of the weather system likely and how it affects agriculture here in the natural state? I know that's an open-ended question. I get it.
Well, first of all, farmers are eternal optimists.
Yes.
It's always, the weather's always going to be better next season. The crops are going to be better. The prices are going to be better, et cetera. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not the case. And, you know, we've had some pretty bad weather cycles for the last few years with rain during the harvest season, et cetera. And, you know, you feel for that farmer that's you know, got that crop in the field and he's worked so hard, and then he gets 30 days of straight rain and it ruins the crop or he can't get it in.
Yes.
The same way with the snowstorm we just had with those cattlemen that were having calves and lost them in the snow as hard as they tried.
I lost some too.
Yeah, I know you did. So it's difficult.
It's difficult, but you know, we can't control the weather. All we can do is react.
Yeah.
And nobody does it better than our Arkansas farmers and ranchers. I've said this 1,000,000 times. I will keep preaching it. Okay, the greatest farmers and ranchers in the world are the United States farmers and ranchers, and our Arkansas farmers and ranchers are the greatest in the world.
Yep.
You know. You know, we have a legislative session going on right now, and Arkansas Farm Bureau is right in the middle of it. John, could you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, we actually are keeping a close eye on a few bills. And when I say a few, there's several.
Sure.
And one of them, and I think Mike can actually speak to this, is the state meat inspection program.
Yes.
That is something that Farm Bureau finds extremely important and vital, you know, to farmers and ranchers in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, and we may have to come back to that, but I mean, right now, if you have a cow and you want to take it and have it processed and so you can feed your family with it, you're looking at a year to year and a half wait.
That's correct.
To get that animal processed. And you know, we just recently put about, I think it was about $20 million in grants, federal money, into expanding these meat processing plants, and we'll probably need to come back to that in just a minute.
Hold that thought. We're going to get on that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Now's the time to get a great deal on the powerfully versatile Kubota M7, featuring up to 168 horsepower, superior loader lift capacity, easy-to-use controls, all-day comfort, and your choice of a 30x15 semi-power shift or Kubota variable transmission. The Kubota M7 tractor. Built right, built ready. Right now, get the Kubota M7 tractor for 0 down and 0% APR for 60 months, plus a $7,000 loyalty cash reward.
In good times and hard times, Arkansas Farm Bureau is there. We're always working, so our state's farmers and ranchers can continue to put food on store shelves and on your family's dinner table. We support training for medical care in rural communities and the industries that provide materials needed for critical supplies. Arkansas Farm Bureau, working every day to keep Arkansas strong.
This is a seed bag. This bag is made of craft paper with a cellophane liner and provides nothing for seed growth. This is a seed bed. It was prepared with Case IH soil management tools. It optimizes everything from nutrient access to water infiltration to create the perfect environment for early, uniform emergence. Get to know why your seed bed drives productivity at caseih.com/soil management.
Since 1921, we've been supporting rice farmers across America. These are the farmers who own our co-op, who prosper together, striving to do more for their communities, going deeper, working smarter, growing stronger. That's how we make good even better. That good comes from the time and toil they're passing down of a way of life that supports not only their families, but families all over the world. So the world can be served with great food. Riceland. United, we grow.
On this field, it's baling. But somewhere, there's one mowing, one raking, one loading, stacking, lifting, and pulling. Our full lineup of versatile utility tractors is built to get any job done right. Right now, get a Kubota utility tractor for 0 down and 0% APR and save up to $1,000.
Welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk. Mike, we were talking about the meat inspection program and how big a deal that is for all Arkansans. Talk about this. Let's talk about that.
Right now in Arkansas, you only have 3 meat processors that are USDA government inspected. Well, what we're trying to do is, this is a program 27 other states have, and we used to have in Arkansas until people got to where it wasn't being utilized. Well, now, you know, times have changed, and if we can allow our state inspectors to go in and inspect this meat as it's being processed, then that rancher or that producer, he can sell that meat, you know, like to local restaurants, etc. And what this buys into is, just think about it now, people, they want grain-fed beef.
Yes.
They want locally produced meat and produce. They want organic, some people do. And all of that, you know, plays right into having this state meat inspection program. Now, there's going to be a cost to it. There's going to be a cost somewhere around $750,000 according to the Department of Ag, but it's going to generate a tremendous amount of money. It's going to more than pay for itself. And it's just going to, think about that. These animals that are now being taken out of state and processed, they're going to be processed here in Arkansas. There's going to be, you know, people that got jobs because of this. You're going to be able to buy local, etc. And you're going to, a lot of these restaurants are really looking forward to this. It's a win-win for us.
You know, people want to know where their food comes from.
Exactly.
And, you know, they don't want to know, I mean, they want to know that if it's U.S. born and bred and you know, manufactured, that's what they want to know. They, you know, if it's coming out of China or that's coming, they want to know that.
Well, and we've got, I mean, this is in the legislature right now. They've passed it out of committee. I think then they've taken it back to committee. It should get out of committee, and we're hoping that it'll be voted on by the full Senate here shortly. And we're pretty, let's say, optimistic that it'll pass.
There's a lot of, from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of positive talk about that, and that's a good thing. You want to hit on that, John?
Well, actually, what I was going to talk about, the other thing we're keeping an eye on are levees.
Yeah.
You know, in 2019, our levee system felt the stress of the 2019 Arkansas River floods.
Yes.
And so what needed to be done is it needed to be revamped. And so there's some actual legislation in place right now that will start the process of getting things fixed. That's kind of what I want to point out is that, you know, there may be some folks out there that are thinking, well, hey, I'm a part of a levee district, so maybe these bills will help me. Really what this does is all it sets up is the reporting requirements and for you to be able to form a levee district and dissolve a levee district. Don't get me wrong, there are levee districts within the state that are the model of how levee districts should be ran in the United States. But there are also levee districts that desperately need help, need funding, and need additional work. So we're hoping these bills will be able to get passed, because once again, there's a lot of farmers out there that depend on levees to not only for the water, but to keep the water out of the fields as well. So I think it's a positive thing, but I think it's something that needs to be done.
You know, we were talking about that earlier because of all the snowfall and the rain we've had. All the rivers and everything's full. Well, now up north, now everything's starting to melt. So all the water's coming this way.
Mike, it seems like every other year we have a 100-year flood.
Isn't that the truth?
And, you know, a levee is only as strong as its weakest part of that levee.
Yes.
And that's what John's talking about, those levee districts that have not been functioning that are the ones that you know, these bills are trying to get back up and do something. And John talked about how all the farmland that the levees protect. Now, they protect a lot of farmland, but they also protect a lot of houses and cities.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
you know, we need to remember that.
You bet. John, anything else you want to hit on?
Well, one thing I would like to hit on is that, you know, sometimes you watch the news and you see a lot of negative things being said about agriculture. And the thing that farmers can't seem to get away from, and we're having conversations about climate change. And one of the things I think farmers should be proud of is that EPA on their own website talks about greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. And EPA, you know, they set aside 5 sectors to account for all of these greenhouse gas emissions. Agriculture was the lowest. Yet agriculture seems to be pointed at quite a bit whenever they talk about doing things for climate change. So I want folks to know and hear that agriculture actually is doing a great job. Now, if you take a look at this worldwide, that's a different conversation altogether. But, you know, in the United States, there's a lot of work and conservation practices that farmers understand and rely on, and I think it shows up in some of these numbers that EPA is providing.
Yeah, Mike, any last words?
I just appreciate you having us on here. It's refreshing to be able to talk about some of these topics. I mean, you know, a lot of people think of farmers. They get the epic picture of the pitchfork and stuff. But I mean, you know, farmers are a lot more modern than that.
Technology is unbelievable in the farming game.
And everybody knows that. But they still, the farmers haven't lost that feel for the land and that that wanting to take care of that land.
Absolutely. Well, look, both of you guys, I appreciate everything that you do on behalf of all the farmers and ranchers and fish farmers in the natural state. We do appreciate everything that you do. We'll see you next week on Arkansas Farm Talk.
Thank you for watching Arkansas Farm Talk, brought to you by Heritage Agriculture.